not called to order.
Yeah, we can call the meeting to order. We always start off with attendance.
Samantha Sperry. Here. Kim Christensen. Here. Arthur Christensen.
Here.
Bob Jellin. Jim Mark.
Here.
Tony Pacheco.
Here.
Janice Chamberlain. Here. Sarah Smith. Here. Deborah Hulkran. Tim Rourke.
Here.
Morgan Donaldson. Nick Lanza.
Nick is there. I can hear you tonight. Maybe he can't hear us. Anyway, we always start off with an opportunity for the public to speak. There are some folks here tonight. Does anybody want to address the board before we get into the rest of the meeting? No? Then we can move right on to committee reports. Personnel?
Personnel did not meet.
How about policy?
Policy committee met and we drafted the pilot grading and reporting program. And then too, I just wanted to thank the policy committee too, because our goals this year were 2 student-centered policies, which would be the grading and reporting and the dress code. And both have come forward to the board. And there was a lot of hard work between policy members, admin, and students and teachers, and we appreciate that.
Thank you, Kim. Finance?
Finance did meet prior to this meeting. Amanda could not join us tonight, but through Sharon, she reported that our interest revenue is up, which is excellent. So that's, and we also received some extra money for the ag grant. So she thinks that we're going to have approximately $200,000 at the end of the year. And so there's several different initiatives that we want to use that money for. One of them being the upgrades, which you talked about a lot with Dennis, looked at his plan for the security plan in the front entrance of security upgrades and using some of that money for actually starting to prioritize getting the front doors, the first group of doors done with the swipe cards and security, getting that complete. So Dennis is going to go out to bid and look at get some bids for that front door area. And then there's other new air quality standards that we also have to comply with. So we're going to be putting together a plan for that. And then I guess there's some grant money that possibly we'll be applying for in December. So to comply with that as well. So there's a lot going on, a lot we have to do.
Building?
Building met just before this, so just as a general ongoing note, the minutes that are typically in our packet are a month behind because we don't have time to put the minutes together to get them published for the packet the same day. So just general disqualifier there. So what I'll talk about is that we met not what reflects the minutes in the agenda, but what reflects our meeting this evening. So a number of ongoing issues, though, lots of updates, so a bunch to share. Turf install is in progress for those of you who haven't sort of peeked out back. Turf has been removed. The sleeves are in place for potential future netting. The base has been restored and graded, and this week will be a bit of a week off. The new turf showing up Wednesday. They'll begin install the following week and wrapping up the week of the 22nd. So lots going on there. It's been a lot of sort of work for Dennis and crew to kind of keep up and honestly keep an eye on them. But that's proceeding to schedule at this point. So that's important. We have some signage we're following up on relative to turf and temperature, exposure, things like that will be getting up in the interim. Should be up between now and the end of the summer. And so another ongoing topic we have is long-term locations for the STAR program and potential depot program as well. Looking forward to having a discussion with the state next week about guidance on reimbursement, right? So kind of know what the guardrails are. Obviously, we're looking for reimbursement there. So whether it be, again, new build, adaptive use, or whatever it might be. So that's a key point to guide our ongoing work. We had talked about a property on Stafford Road for some time, and at this point have sort of passed on that opportunity. It does not seem to fit our needs. And our eyes open for other opportunities for that program. Still a couple of years on the Vinton lease, so it's on our radar, but hasn't raised to urgent yet. Indoor air quality is ongoing, so we did receive our report for the depot facility. Only one non-compliance at this point that really is driven by a change in use of some rooms, so rebalancing should resolve that. A number of other recommendations that we'll be looking at. So that's sort of our first peek at our air quality assessment, state mandated. The report for this facility is pending. We expect that there will be lots more content, given the age of the facilities, and lots more to chew on, and you know, it'll be expected in the fall, just in time for budget season. So we'll have to keep an eye out for how that impacts us. So that's finally moving, in terms of seeing some feedback on that. One of the things we've been trying to do is get our PV system reconnected with a number of electrical and disconnect issues. So good news to report, as of, I think, Saturday, our system is generating again. Dennis has been doing a ton of detail with a number of folks, chase down again, ongoing trip and disconnect issues. They did find an issue with the system on the roof, had the installer come back out that same week, get it resolved, and we're back up and running. So that's good news. And I think that was our last topic. Yeah. It's Matt Dave.
Thanks, Tim. Curriculum? Did not meet. Okay. EDJ? Did not meet. Did not meet. Student report?
I'm here.
You're here.
And Sam's here. I don't even know what I'm supposed to talk about.
Sorry, wing it.
End of year?
End of year, as well as an end of year could possibly go, really. Not much happened. Finals, thank God we're in school now. But I don't know, anything about in school, graduation, that was exciting. You graduated.
Graduation happened, it was good. It was long.
It was long?
Long as you short.
First one ever.
That was the shortest one ever.
7:22, it was over.
It was a Christmas miracle.
You gonna say that?
How about things for the summer? Is the school have any programs or anything that students are involved with or can be involved with during the summer?
I don't know.
Yeah, they may not know, right now, actually, we ran our June Academy, which was well attended. So that was great. Currently we have a math acceleration program that's going on right now for Algebra 2, I believe. So for students who, have shown, interest and affinity for an ability for accelerating through the math program, so that then they have the option to take pre-calc in the fall. There's about 24 students in that program right now, and that's being run by 2 math teachers and overseen by Ed DePo, the director. We're very excited about it.
Yeah, that's
When we
great.
talk about removing obstacles to equity, providing opportunity for students who might not have had that otherwise, that opportunity to really excel and move forward in their math program. We're very excited about that. So kudos to Lou and to Ed for that vision of moving that forward.
We can segue from there right into your report.
So first, I would like to welcome Jill Elliott. She's gonna be very upset that I'm saying that out loud. Who is my new assistant and will be joining us at our board meetings, and we're very excited that she's here. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah.
And Jill was Lou's assistant for quite some time. Sorry, Lou.
The name's familiar.
I knew that.
Yes, we also have John Swanson here, who is representing the Teachers Association, and he is the president of the Teachers Association and will be representing at board meetings. So
Okay.
welcome.
Welcome, John.
Thank you. And also in the packet of information that I gave you, and it's also kind of woven throughout my report, is a flyer from Lou that talks about a couple of the programs. And so there are some video links that I embedded into the presentation so that you can take a look at them. One is the Smart Recovery Program. That one does not have a video link, but there's some information in the flyer that Lou shared. And then also the Explorers program, where there's a couple of really cool videos of our students who are involved in the Explorers program with their passion for public safety and some of the opportunities that they've been provided through that program. Super exciting. I am going to try to do this without, no, I'm not going to do it without standing up because I can't see it. So normally, the end, usually June, this time July, is the quick kind of state of the state of the district. So I have a PowerPoint for you that I'm going to zip through. Okay, so I know the one that I gave you, your packet is teeny tiny.
Oh, that's
But I emailed it to you also. So this is just taking us through a lot of the information that's in here. You've seen at some point or another through a presentation from either students or from teachers, from Lou, or from things that I've shared in previous reports, but this is just kind of our summary of some of the things that have been going on. And I am going to zip through it really quickly. Sharing our goal, the school-wide goal, and you're going to see that many of the slides are attached to equity. So our goal is achieving equity through maximizing participation, performance, and experiences of all students. This is a statement that's included on all of our paperwork, including our school improvement plan, which is the next slide. So there are links that I had sent this to you a little bit earlier. We've shared our school improvement plan. We actually had some time this year to go through parts of that together, but you'll notice that that same statement and theory of action is included in our school improvement plan. And as we're moving through, one of the things that we really wanted to make sure is that our initiatives, as it aligns to both our equity improvement plans and our school improvement plans, are aligned, and that we're seeing that our actions are actually helping us to fulfill those goals. So on this slide, you'll see the school improvement plan, the administrative equity action plan that's been in place for quite some time, and we just kind of keep adding and adjusting to it. And then the department equity action plans for math, science, social studies, English, ag, world language, PE, health, CTE, and fine arts. And again, this is something that is revised or reviewed and revised every single year with expansion kind of on those goals as we start to achieve some of them. Really excited. We talked a little bit about this way back, I think probably in December, our NEASC outcomes. We had our visit from NEASC back in October. The thing that we were really excited about when we look at this chart, this talks about our foundational element ratings. Those are those basic foundational standards that schools must adhere to. There's a lot of standards that NEASC has, but these are your base standards that schools have to comply with in order to really to be considered foundationally solid. So for us, the only place that we were not meeting back at the collaborative conference in 2020 was our student learning specifically connected to the curriculum. So at that time, we did not have a written curriculum in a common format, in a common template. And when we came back, when they came back several years later, we are now meeting that standard. All of the curriculum that is in place has been moved over to Atlas Rubicon, which is our platform, and is in UBD format, and it's in a process of revision. And at this point now, we have, gosh, a good chunk of teachers writing this summer. And next year, the writing that we do during the school year should get us to a place where every single course in every department has been revised and updated. And then it's a living document. We should be continually, during our PLC process and during our curriculum writing process, updating and revising and making adjustments to it based on what we know about the kids that are sitting in front of us on any given day. NEASC outcomes and commendations are specifically the commendations. So these are the things that they lifted up. There were a lot of really, in the report, a lot of great feedback that they provided to us about the things they thought they were doing well. They lifted up some specific pieces. commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion. I love that that's first, because that's something I think that is what we do. It's what we think about, it's what we work on every single day. Authentic learning opportunities in ag and plant science, implementation of a pilot portfolio, which is now the full portfolio, the senior portfolio that actually starts in the freshman year and works its way all the way up to senior year. Dedication of our CIA coaches, a curriculum director, specifically the support that they were able to provide both for the curriculum piece as well as the professional development for instructional strategies that really focus on student-centered learning. The science department spearheading and piloting the learning tracker, which you'll see when we get into the grading and reporting conversation a little bit later in the meeting today. And then the separation of academic and habits of scholarship to most accurately assess students having learned and demonstrated their understanding of knowledge and skills. So we were really excited about that. I am not going to read all of these to you. These are the individual priority areas. We had 3. NEASC is really different than it used to be. It was this checklist of compliance that we had to do with a bazillion different standards that we had to demonstrate that we were doing. Didn't necessarily have to demonstrate that we were doing them well. Just had to demonstrate that we were doing them. What NEASC does now is they allow us to conduct a self-study and then for us to pick our priority areas of where we think we need support or need improvement. And they send in teams to validate and provide some additional information. So they'll either validate, yep, we think this is a really important priority area, or no, maybe we think you should work on this or tweak this a little bit more. They agreed with all of the priority areas. You'll see that when you look at these priority areas, our school improvement plan is aligned with them so that they can also see and track that we're trying to make progress toward these important areas. So the first one was really getting to a point where our vision of the graduate standards are measured consistently, which we've started through the portfolio program, and really our next step. You'll see recommended next steps, and I highlighted in the presentation kind of those steps that are our first priorities from the recommendations that they put forward. So one of the things that they mentioned that we thought was really very important was infusing the equity, diversity, and justice lens into our vision of the graduate, where it's kind of broadly there, but it's not specifically addressed. Priority area 2 is completing the process of converting the school-wide curriculum template across all courses. We are well on our way. I think the thing that I'm most excited about, and I get to work with our 2 CIA coaches and with Diane Hannon, who's the curriculum oversight person, is that there's not only do we have a list of things that have been completed, but there's a plan for how we're going to continue moving that forward, which is we never want to be in a place where our curriculum's outdated. Priority 3 was investigating and implementing new pathways and opportunities for students to explore and experience career and post-secondary options. I've highlighted the enhancing partnerships with UConn, QVCC, Manchester Community to support concurrent enrollment in courses. We've talked a lot about that and that work that's happening, and then developing a shared operational understanding of what constitutes a college and career pathway. So really being clear. We've talked with Renee Nigerian about really taking a look at our program of studies and how can we be really explicit about the course offerings and how they lead to pathways for career in college. So then this kind of shifts us a little bit into a space of our equity action plans. So our equity action plans address 5 specific recommendations, and this started back in 2020. We all know the story of the petition from Black Lives Matter, E.O. Smith. There were 5 specific areas that we needed to address. Curriculum was one piece. The other was professional learning, community outreach, safety and security. And I'm going to forget one that's addressed in my PowerPoint, so we'll get to it when I remember what it is. So I'm kind of going through each one of these just to show how we're attending to each of those. So we've looked at our grad standards and performance indicators to develop our curriculum, to really be clear that everybody is having a curriculum, creating a curriculum that's aligned with standards. It allows for there to be continuity between classrooms and between departments. We've had a curriculum audit and inventory. We have, curriculum has been developed with an identity lens, really with the goal of students being able to see themselves in the courses that have been approved through the curriculum committee and through this board. The diversity of choices, specifically in our English department and our social studies department, really, I think are great examples of how we are really trying to infuse student identity into the courses that we teach, providing kids an opportunity to actually learn about something that they're excited to learn about and that is personal and meaningful to them. That's happening across all of our disciplines through the curriculum development process as they're looking at how can we really make sure that what we're teaching is relevant to kids and that they can see themselves in this content. Professional learning. This is a long one and it's a recap of what we've done from 2020 all the way through this year, and our continued attention to supporting student-centered learning, supporting equity, and supporting social emotional wellness. Those are our kind of three major goals. Equity is our big umbrella. Student-centered learning, social emotional wellness, and character development are vehicles to get us there. I'll let you read those at your leisure. I put it in the email. There's been a lot of work over the past few years, really, in making sure that we have a level playing field as far as equity and folks understanding privilege, bias, and understanding that building relationships with students is really kind of that gateway to capturing really intense learners. You should see some common threads as we're kind of continuing through. These are really small. This was a 22-23. We had a lot of teacher choice. So you see a lot of options for teachers in things that they could take that were connected to student-centered learning, connected to equity, or connected to social emotional learning. So just looking at teacher choice on building thinking classrooms, feedback for learning, what kind of feedback are we providing to students in order for it to guide their next step in learning? Gender identity and expression, Rubicon training, which is super important when you're trying to develop a curriculum. Supporting student thinking, trying to kind of shift the paradigm of kids coming to school to watch their teachers work, which traditionally is what happens. So how are we kind of flipping that script and making sure that our students are actively doing the work and actually doing some meaningful, relevant work that they're excited and proud of their outcomes about. This is 23-24. So there's some links in there also to just some of the presentations. And I've shared some of these. We've really appreciated our board members who've been able to attend our professional development, coming and not just watching and listening, but really participating. And we hope to continue that next year. Again, a lot of teacher choice PD. And when I say that, it means that our teachers are not only choosing what they want to participate in, but many of them are actually facilitating the work with their colleagues. So we're lifting up and trying to lift up the collective expertise of our teachers to share their best practices with each other. This is still 23-24. We did a lot this year. We quantified it. What you're going to see in here also is the Racial Justice Academy. We talked a little bit about that last time. So a cohort of teachers who've been trained to train other teachers around how are we really looking at racial justice within our classrooms. A lot of links to that one. And I mentioned student-centered learning as one of our priorities in getting us to equity. Providing professional learning on instructional strategies specifically for student-centered, getting kids active and moving. When you see the thinking classroom, the math department and other departments really adopting this approach to getting kids up and moving and talking and collaborating with each other and being able to really show their work. Student ownership of their learning through learning target trackers, as I mentioned earlier, piloted and put forward by the science department. Portfolio reorganization, so that becoming a 9 through 12 process and not something that you're just doing in your senior year to check it off your list. It's something that's meaningful and important, that's really showing that you have demonstrated the vision of the graduate standards. Pathway development through QVCC, manufacturing electric boat program, and the Explorer program. Social emotional wellness and character development, focusing on measuring students' experiences. We talked a lot this year specifically about the work with St. Joseph's University and really trying to figure out what were students' lived experiences and how, probably what we have numbers. We have lots of numbers about performance and about participation. Really hard to capture what a student's experience is without talking to them and really kind of diving into it. Student engagement and leadership opportunities, and I just kind of put some of the leadership opportunities in there. Superintendent's Advisory Council, equity councils, affinity groups, the activity fair that was run, was largely student run here in the media center, where students were able to talk about and invite students to participate in these activities, to really let them know that they were welcome and that there's a place for everybody here. Student involvement, as was mentioned by Kimberly, the student involvement in the dress code policy, having a student-created policy, and then their involvement, active involvement through focus groups in the grading and reporting policy. Community outreach, again, the policy work this year engaged all stakeholders to participate. The dress code policy, the parents for racial equity group meetings this year. And the E.O. Smith Common Circles, that was the kind of the entry into the teach-in that invited community members in. So that was pretty amazing and something that I've never personally in my career experienced before. So a huge shout out to Ellen Marcus, to Sam's dad, to the folks at UConn, to Lou, and to the Social Studies Department. I know Megan Wagner did a lot of work specifically with the teach-in piece. And then to every teacher who brought their kids to experience and to learn from every discipline about what it meant to be, you know, where does identity fit into who we are and where we fit in here at EO. It was pretty impactful. Safety and security, we've talked a lot about that. That was the last piece. There was a reorganization of the security plan back in 2020. Through that, we have a director of security who has really taken the lead on making sure that our all hazards plan is not just updated, but to change language and places and things like that, but really is updated to reflect what the current practices are in maintaining appropriate security drills and making sure that we're doing all the right things and training teachers and kids in the right way for appropriate responses to emergencies. Always provides feedback and welcomes feedback when there are security drills, so that he's constantly trying to improve that process. We upgraded the full PA system, secured the entrance over by my office, secured the main office with swipes for entry, increased our security team by one person during the day, provided iPads to the security team who are out and about and then are able to communicate very quickly to the office. And we piloted vape detectors in the laboratories this year. And then this is like the catch-all slide of I was telling folks before we started the meeting today, I could have been just continually adding things onto this forever. It's a really tiny print, but our collaboration with St. Joe's, Lou and Jill and I presented in Providence. It was really very exciting this year at the School Reform and Action Conference in Providence about the data and how it's used to actually try and remove obstacles to equity. Turf field replacement, transition to a new budgeting platform, which is ClearGov. That's going to have a bigger role for us next year. Restructure of the policy book onto the website, which again is a work in progress, but it's a little bit easier to access the specific individual policies now. Restructured the superintendent's office personnel in order to, try and find some efficiencies in communication between finance and us, as well as HR. Updated policies in the 1000s, 3000s, and some of our 5000s, we're getting there. Educator diversification plan, that was a state mandate, but it's something that I think was really important to us and something that we were moving toward regardless. The grading and reporting committee, tremendous amount of work. It's been a year-long work of really trying to get feedback from folks and to move forward thoughtfully and not just making very quick decisions about the grading and reporting policy. Closed out the roof and solar projects, so that was exciting. Support from the state, restructured the leadership team with director oversight for partner disciplines. That was implemented this year. Secured Vinton School for the STAR program and worked with the building committee to research a new STAR facility. So a lot of the things that we've been talking about, when you see it quantified into kind of one space, it's like, wow, it's been a year. It's been a year. But any questions?
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Fast talking.
That was good. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bill, the next item on the agenda would be the consent agenda. There's a number of items on the consent agenda before we get to it. Does anybody want to make any changes, take anything off?
Can we strike out the minutes?
Can we take out the minutes?
No, spike them. They have to be a separate vote.
Yeah, we can, it looks like, we'll remove minutes from the consent agenda. Anything else, any other changes? Okay, does anybody want to make a motion for approval of the consent agenda as modified by Art?
So moved.
So moved by Kim. Second?
Second.
Second by Janice. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that passes. And then we can go back to the minutes. Arthur?
I just, did not review them, so I'm not going to vote on them.
Okay.
I know you don't like doing that, but I still do
No,
it.
that's fine. It's not a problem at all. So are there any other changes or modifications to the minutes besides the fact that Arthur is not going to vote on them? Okay, does anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I would like to.
Thank you, Sarah, because I was looking right at you. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Second by Tim. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, minutes passed. Arthur abstained. Okay. New business. August Board of Education meeting. When did that come?
We talked about it.
We did.
So I guess, normally we don't have a July meeting, but we really had some important business that we needed to take care of at the July meeting. So we had talked about potentially, canceling the August meeting. So we just wanted to open that up for discussion.
Anybody have any comments about whether or not we should have an August meeting?
I don't think building will bring anything to the full board that needs to be resolved, so just from our subcommittee perspective, I don't see.
Right. And I know
No
I'm
other
away.
committee?
You're
Not that
away.
it matters.
Yeah. Okay. Look, just for the sake of discussion, we can put that to a vote. And I would certainly entertain a motion that we don't have an August meeting. Does anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thanks, Jen.
I'll second it.
Second by Sarah. Any discussion on that? All right, hearing none, I can put that to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, good. No August meeting. Then we do have a discussion item regarding the dress code policy. Before we get to the motion, have people had an opportunity to read the dress code?
Oh, yeah.
Kim, not to put you on the spot, but I am putting you on the spot. Do you want to give a little bit of an introduction to the dress code and the work that went into it?
Sure, I recognize familiar faces here from last time you guys came, so thank you to the students that participated, and I see supportive parents and guardians, so thank you. Yes, this has been a work in progress. I think it's been last school year and this school year. that there's been lots of contributions to this policy. Reading through it, I see they did a great job in that it meets the equity protocol, which was a priority. There were definitely some things that shifted and changed, and I think that were positive outcomes from it. And I believe when we move this over to teaching and educating the staff on how to implement the dress code policy, it would be nice too to have some student involvement on that. So, yeah, I mean, is there anything else
No,
specific or?
that's a good intro.
Yeah, Lou may want to talk a little bit about the process because he's been so
Yeah,
involved.
he's
Yeah, I would
been
appreciate
guiding it.
So actually, I think we're on 3 years. And the changes you have in front of you, I want you to know that I support them. So the sunglasses, there are medical reasons for that. That makes sense. Removing the line about cleavage actually helps us in our gender neutral theme. And the midriff, the top meeting the bottom, I also think is the right way to go. Not everybody agrees with me, but that's part of it, right? I think the big thing is we have a policy that we're going to try. We haven't been enforcing our current policy because we do believe it's discriminatory with respect to body coverage. It's one of those things that nobody wants to talk about, yet it's in your face all day, every day. We need to deal with it at this point. It's one of those that we just have to get right. So appreciate the patience and the patience of the staff. It's been uncomfortable for them sort of being in limbo for a while. But I do have to recognize Julia, Hannah, Kenzie, and Emma, and Lily, who is not here. It has been a long journey, and they would like a minute, if they could, just a couple of them to talk to you about their process with it. And, I think at this point they've earned a couple of minutes of our time, but I also feel it's important that I share with you how I feel about what the policy committee has given to me, so you can hear from me on that. All right?
Come on up, you guys.
Well, good evening, everyone. This meeting is the culmination of so many years of hard work that we put in to ensure that students at U.S. Mint feel comfortable if they're being treated equitably when it comes to the dress code policy. We want to thank you so much for your collaboration and your commitment to U.S. Mint and to working towards the development of student policy. We truly cannot stress how grateful we are for everyone in this room. That being said, we understand that there is hesitation when it comes to allowing midriff in the policy. However, today, I would like to strongly urge each member to consider the impact of what banning midriff would mean for our school climate next year. Allowing midriff to be shown in the U.S. Mint dress code policy promotes gender equality and personal autonomy, as well as aligning with historical advancements in society. Prohibiting the exposure of midriff often targets female-presenting students overwhelmingly, reinforcing outdated gender norms and feelings of stigma and shame. We are united in the goal of advocating for the right to choose daily attire without fear of discrimination or the preconceived label of sexualization. To be completely honest, there is not a current dress code policy being implemented or enforced at our school. Every day, the hallways are flooded with students that have exposed midriff, especially when the weather starts to get warmer. This does not and has not taken anything away from their value or success as students or as people. By trying to contort this dress code to be aimed at preventing distraction or maintaining decorum, it only emboldens gender stereotypes and inequality. If this is an issue that anyone on this board foresees, then I encourage looking into the issue of teaching basic respect and appropriate behavior to students rather than policing the bodies of said students. We have heard from our fellow peers and classmates that banning midriff is absolutely not what they want, and we have new survey data to support this claim that Julia will speak on in a minute. Ultimately, we do expect loud backlash from students if this passes. Furthermore, we have been told time and time again by our advisors that we should be proud of this policy, regardless of whether midriff is allowed or not. However, we also stand united in the belief that this policy, without this change, is not reflective of gender equity, positive change, or our full support. We hope you have taken our thoughts to mind and agreed to include this line. You are all responsible for advancing our school progress. Do not risk losing the trust and respect of the student body by making this policy and the school go backwards. Thank you. Hi. The dress code committee has worked diligently for nearly 3 years to revise the E.O. Smith dress code to be equitable and fair. We have researched and collected data and input from parents and students and teachers to inform our new code. We recently submitted our final draft to the policy subcommittee for feedback, and I can confidently speak on behalf of my fellow committee members and say that we are so grateful for how much our revision has been accepted. But we know that the most contested part of the dress code is the midriff. The section allowing midriff was recommended to change. While voting on the passage of the policy as a whole, and versions of body coverage, I ask you to consider the following. In our original 2023 survey of students, we received positive feedback regarding the allowance of midriff, but this survey only had 16 respondents. As a student, I know for a fact that the vast majority of E.O. Smith students would support allowing midriff. After receiving the proposed revision that would essentially ban crop tops, we decided to independently conduct a direct survey of the student population. The original survey was long with no specific questions other than asking for general feedback, so we asked directly, do you think crop tops / midriff should be allowed in the dress code? We received an overwhelming amount of responses and compared to the original survey, and they were also overwhelmingly positive. Of 108 students, only 6.7% of students voted against crop tops, while 93.3% voted in favor. Student policy revision affects students the most, and I know the board has expressed interest in students' input as a part of the reason for having a student-led committee in the first place. So I think this data should be especially taken into consideration when voting. I also do not believe that any policy banning crop tops would go smoothly with the student population. When I asked students to participate in our new survey, I was met with shock at the idea of a quote-unquote crop top ban. Students, regardless of gender, were confused about the reasoning, and I had many reach out to express their support. Crop tops are undoubtedly gendered, and to prohibit them would cause a massive influx of dress codes that would target girls. Massive backlash is to be expected from students if this were to happen. Aside from ideological opposition, crop tops are essentially unavoidable in stores. Shein and Cider are two very popular fast fashion retailers, especially among youth, and going through these sites, around 44.4% of Shein tops and 46.9% of Cider tops were cropped, and even less would comply with the suggested revision of touching the wearer's bottoms. These shirts are targeted towards women, and it is nearly impossible to walk through a women's section of a retail store or a girl's closet without finding a large selection of crop tops. One of the largest talking points against allowing midriff is concerns over professionalism. A portion of E.O. Smith student population takes on-campus classes at UConn. UConn does not have a dress code. High schoolers of high achievement are preparing for careers alongside professionals, clearly demonstrating professionalism without dictation over whether or not they can wear crop tops. Professionalism concerns don't hold substance, and students are actively partaking in professional environments, and concerns about the way of dress are superficial. A learning environment is sculpted by its learning, not clothing. We ask you to please vote on a policy that would help the student environment and listen to our years of research and dedication, as well as our unique student perspective. Banning crop tops will create nothing but tension and unrest, and thank you for allowing us to work so closely on this policy.
Anybody else?
Are we gonna discuss or?
Well, before we can discuss, there has to be a motion to either approve or not approve the code as proposed by the policy committee.
So I'll make the motion that the Region 19 School District School District 19 Board of Education approve the revised dress code policy as recommended by the policy subcommittee.
Is there a second?
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, now we can move on to discussion. Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate all the presentations, very nicely done. Would you guys be interested in hearing a little bit of the conversation around the midriff, from the policy? I'd be happy to share that. So one of the main things that we talked about regarding the midriff is not only what's currently in fashion, but also what's heading in, the next fashion piece. So right now, if we allow crop tops or these bandeau tops, right now with high-rise jeans kind of being trendy and the crop top, there really isn't that much midriff showing. It's just a little bit here. But now with low-rise jeans coming in, they're the next fashion cycle. And we allow the tops now, all of a sudden, we've gone from this much space to this much space showing. And the other thing is too, when we talk about the top and the bottom, we really didn't want to have to put on a teacher or a staff or a student any conversation of measurements, right? Is this a 2-inch space? Is this a 4-inch space? That it just felt like that was really narrowing in and like looking. Whereas if it's real basic, the top meets the bottom, you know, doesn't have to be tucked in, don't have to wear a belt or anything like that. That was just kind of more general and more easy to be interpreted for everybody. So that was a big part of the conversation that we had. Was there, I guess not everyone's here from policy, but was there?
When we were discussing it, I'm sorry, but I didn't think of it as being, limiting the crop tops. You know, I was thinking, okay, we want some coverage for, I'm thinking of safety, you know, like in the lab situation or you're in science class. Of course I would,
Yeah.
but, I don't know, but I see your point as well.
And that's true, Sarah. I don't think really we ever discussed specifically certain types of clothing like banning crop tops or not. It was just
Yeah.
really general about just the length of the shirt. Because we do understand that styles change and trends shift. And that was one of the reasons too, that we felt like we had to be aware of what's coming next, you know, and how fashion cycles through.
Yeah, I think we were thinking about like maybe 10 years or more ago, people are wearing pants that, you know, are really hard to keep up. I was a teacher in those days and it was a little difficult, you know, people were sliding all around. So I think we were sort of looking into what happens, as Kim has said, if things go a different way, you know, because I didn't get the impression that any of us were really, ooh, there's a crop top, you know. I mean, there are a lot of adults that wear those, and please don't say anything to them because they'll hurt their feelings. Okay. But, you know, that's where we were going. So I don't know what we can do to you know, like have any negotiation at all on this. You know, I'm not sure what we could do with that, but I do understand our reason for what we did.
I have a question though.
Mm-hmm.
What if you were wearing something that had uneven front and back? So the front shows some midriff and the back touches the bottom garment. Is that a violation?
Well, I think the idea would be that the whole top touched. Well, that's part of the
Well, no, it is
reason.
because there's a line about fabric has to cover the entire part,
Torso,
the
yeah.
entire torso.
Yeah.
So that eliminated that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's a good point, Jim, because we were thinking more about the tops that are open in the back, but you just drew attention to the tops that are open in the front.
I have one of those. I guess it could work.
I think that you raise a good point. It's gonna be, no matter what, we were enforcing a policy next year.
Right.
So I understand what they're saying about, you know, that kids are not gonna be happy with it. But we can't go forever just basically disregarding policy. That's not what we do. So either way, there was going to be, hey, we are now, you know, doing this. If you have a policy that you can get behind, it makes it a lot easier. We already have dates to meet this summer, to keep going. And I think a lot of, you know, the what ifs that Jim, there's a lot of those. And we're gonna have to sort through those. Another good thing about this policy is it mandates that we review this annually. We have to look at data, we run it through the protocol again. And, you know, it's a work in progress, but this is where we landed right now. And who knows what fashion's gonna, you know, there's things said on TV that, you know, 10 years ago weren't. So who knows where it's gonna go, but I think it's a process and we've got to stick with it.
Tim, did you have a comment?
No, sorry, I was just
Want to? Tony?
Yeah, and maybe Lou, you can answer this. You said that we have to review it every year. Is that in the, where is that? Is that in the
I believe it's at
enforcement?
the very end.
Yeah, I mean, what it says is that there will be,
The
that staff training will be provided
Every year.
on dress code enforcement to promote consistency in policy implementation. I really don't see anything that says the policy be reviewed every year, although there's nothing that says it can't be reviewed.
Right.
And maybe every year isn't the right time, but if enough issues come up, I'm assuming you'll review it.
Well, I mean, I definitely think, even implementing, there's gonna be a learning curve, right? So I definitely think implementing, the year we implement a new policy, we should definitely get feedback and find out how it's going on the both student and staff teacher.
But the other question I wanted to ask is so when is the staff training, yearly staff training, when is that gonna?
It's gonna be August this year, right before school starts during PD.
It'll be part of that process.
Yeah, that's, okay.
And we will have the enforcement piece, it's the data that we will have at the end of the year to see if it's actually discriminatory or not.
The other thing I wanted to say, and I just wanted to ask, with the exception of the changes, the revisions here, is this what you received from the students without these crossouts?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I know that, Sarah met, I think you met, or no, you were not part of the meeting, Morgan met with you all earlier this year, and I know you made your case, and I just want to say, I'm extremely impressed at the way you took the equity protocol, you applied it, and while it doesn't appear you're going to get everything you asked for here, this is a very impressive piece of work, and it shows how much dedication to the process you've taken this seriously, and this is, I think, a really, really good policy. Thank you.
Are there any further comments?
I did. I just had a question as far as sharing out the policy. Is there an opportunity, to go over, actually vote this and maybe the new grading policy in like an assembly format, when the students come back to school, just so everybody knows where things are and what to expect? Because I think that's been a lot of feedback, is just, understanding like clarity and what they can expect in this.
Yeah, so we want to do that, starting with communication to staff, students, and families, with the changes in this policy as well as the guidelines for grading. And then we will meet with students. I'm not sure a whole class assembly is the best forum, but we will certainly make sure that teachers are in a position where they can say, here's what it is, and we can explain it. I'm willing to do videos, whatever we need to do, but I think it's important that they understand what these say and what they don't say. So we are going to communicate and communicate and communicate, particularly these two major things.
Thank you.
Any more comments? All right, there is a motion. If there's no further discussion, I can put it to a vote. All in favor? Are there any opposed? Abstentions? All right, that motion passes. Moving on, there is another item on for discussion regarding policy regarding the pilot plan for grading and reporting. You're on again, Kim.
So it's reference number 4.
Okay. So the last policy meeting, we put together it's basically a bullet point, 1-page pilot policy that is a combination of the just a lot of the common themes that came across in all of our work with the focus groups of teachers, students, and parents. And there's some, you want me to go through it, or has everyone read it? At what point?
Just hit highlights what,
Okay.
what the policy committee decided and
Okay.
maybe why.
Okay, so there's a couple things that we thought would be simple to implement that would really benefit students broadly. And those are things like, let's see, we put rounding, right? This should be in here. Oh, that's easier. Thank you. Let's see. One of the things is instead of a 0 going in the grade book would be an M for missing. So students are aware that the item's actually missing, and parents would be aware that it's a missing assignment, not something that's just floating out there. Let's see. I don't see the rounding in here.
Rounding is halfway down.
Oh, it's down here. Okay.
Yeah.
That Power School will round up from a 0.5 automatically up to the higher grade. The example we talked about in all the focus groups was the 89.5 up to a 90. Homework expectations will be determined by the department. There was a lot of feedback that people thought that departments should set those standards. Another big change would be that there'd be a syllabi or syllabus for every class, and that class, so students know, right, what to expect, both course content wise, but also how things are going to be graded in that class. And then it'll also touch base on some of the other expectations like cell phone use, passes. And then another big thing we talked about, which is pretty big here, is the reassessment conditions for reassessment. Some of the big ones are that there must be an intervention between reassessments. And then another one that we heard so much about was teacher feedback. So that's 5 days, that teachers have 5 days to give you feedback. So students should be getting feedback much quicker on their assignments. Another thing that we switched that students are reinforcing here is that any student can reassess on any grade. There's not a limit anymore. And like if you only get below an 80, that you can reassess. So if you got a 90 and you want to reassess for a 95, you can do that. So taking away that, not everyone was doing it, but some were, and that's also one of the primary guiding things was consistency, really to have some consistent things across departments for reassessment. So those, I think, are those pretty much the big ones? Anything?
And the intervention piece. So I think,
Yeah.
you know, the big piece was, you know, maintaining the flexibility that many of the kids and many of the parents appreciated in making sure that students had an opportunity to show what they know. At the same time, putting some boundaries on, you know, reassessments and or missing work, just kind of being out there for extended periods of time, which puts a burden on the teachers, but it also puts a burden on the student to keep up with the work that is continuing to happen and, you know, backfill the missing assignments. So to really kind of go back to there being some sort of parameter. So, you know, setting the end of a unit is, you know, things have to be done within that unit time period, so that kids aren't chasing and teachers aren't chasing, you know, grading things 2 or 3 months later when really the real learning opportunity may have come and gone. And then the other piece about really making sure that there's timely feedback on assessments, and that students are provided an opportunity for intervention, whether that's with the teacher, whether it's with a peer tutor, through the peer tutoring program, or through the academic study hall process, that those can, you know, consistently applied across classrooms, across disciplines, will hopefully, you know, make sure that kids are getting the support. It's one thing to have an opportunity for a reassessment. It's a completely other thing to go back and learn the material or the standards, whatever we want to call them, that you weren't strong on in that first assessment, so that you then have an opportunity to really show what you know and what you're able to do. That's the ultimate goal. You want a grade to reflect what you know and what you're able to do. So, you know, kind of creating these consistent parameters, kind of I think the committee really listened to parents, to students, to teachers, looked at the survey data and the focus group data, for what's working, what isn't. And this will be a great opportunity. And a lot of these are largely what we would consider kind of regulations as part of a policy, but it's the consistency of those regulations that really make a difference, I think, for the performance for students and the communication between teachers, kids, and parents that folks we're looking for.
I guess another thing that will be new and different, we're not calling it extra credit, but enrichment or extension opportunities. That was, students really felt like they wanted to have the opportunity to either, share something that they know at a higher level. So we really talked a lot about this, and we're going to trial it next year, that students will have enrichment or extension opportunities, but they must be academically aligned. And it's a way to demonstrate knowledge or content or skill related to what you're working on, and that it can be used standalone or as part of an assessment. So that'll be a new opportunity for students. And that was something nearly all the students expressed.
Do you want to, this might be opening a can of worms, so I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot. Just say, no, I do not want to discuss it. But that we did talk a lot about homework. And
yes,
if you wanted to bring it up, or if you think it's a little premature, I do understand.
We can bring it up in that a lot of the conversation around homework was that students wanted credit for work that they did, and how we're going to kind of work through that next year. And that's part of the pilot program of this, is that academic departments are going to determine the value of homework. So again, maybe for consistency within departments. But yes, that was a big topic of discussion. So that I think is going to be we're going to learn about that next year more, now that we've opened up that is possible, right? So we'll see what gets landed on. But yes, it was a very big.
I just thought that it would be good to note that we did discuss that, and, stay tuned. And also we discussed transparency, and then that, I think we did a lot, actually.
Yes, and then talking about feedback, right, with homework. So there's a difference, and how do we give feedback, right, there's a lot of conversations around that.
Yeah, there was the debate of is it an exercise in compliance, or is there feedback being provided to the students so it can actually let them know what they know?
Yeah.
And what they might need for help and support in order to move forward. So a lot of that talk. I think the other thing that is noteworthy is the students' best performance. So if you are under the reassessment piece, that if you're taking the time as a student, and the teacher's taking the time as an instructor to provide you an intervention, to give an assessment, to provide an intervention so that you can know and understand what you didn't on that first assessment, that the highest grade should prevail in demonstrating your knowledge and skills. So that is a piece that was discussed at length, I think, during that process.
That was a big one. So yes, we're hoping that this policy, this pilot program will guide us in creating a policy that, works well and touches upon all these things. There's a lot in the grading and reporting policy. So.
This is what's anticipated for moving forward next year.
Yeah, so this is going to move forward next year. All the teachers have this, right? And I'm assuming there'll be some kind of, during PD, go over this, or?
Yep, we will have a guide for teachers to follow. We're working on this summer.
Okay, and the syllabus, you guys are going to maybe do a
template syllabus, template learning trackers. Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, since this is a pilot, the policy committee plans on, following this throughout the year to see, regular check-ins, to see how this is going.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Before there's a final policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any further comment on this? Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Obviously, a lot of work went into this one as well.
Interesting. Thank
We
you.
now have on, an executive session, for, contract issue. Would somebody like to make a motion that we go into executive session? Kim, is there a second?
Sir.
Kim, all in favor?
All right.
Okay, we're gonna go into executive session. Now we're back in session. We have come to a conclusion with respect to our executive session. Is there, a motion, to be brought forth at this point in time regarding the superintendent's contract?
I would like to make a motion, but you may have to help me with the language, to renew, the superintendent's
To
contract.
extend it for 1 year, you mean?
Okay, yeah,
And,
Yes.
and to provide for, her raise commensurate with the, raises that the administrators get on an annual
Yes.
basis? Okay.
thank you.
Second by Nick. Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, I can put it to a vote. All in favor?
All right.
Are any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, good. That passes. Wonderful. So you can do one without the red lines, but you certainly have some things to be talking to other people in the administration about going forward, that's for sure. Next on our agenda would be, an opportunity for the public to speak, and I see that nobody is here or has come back. Anybody on live stream? Oh, okay. And then, opportunity for board member comment. Does anybody have a comment that they want to make regarding the board tonight? Nick? You were holding your little card, so I
Oh, sorry.
thought you had another
No,
comment. Samantha, you have a comment?
I do have a comment.
Sure.
So I don't know how to say it. I just want to say that tonight is actually going to be my last meeting with this board. I've had some life changes in the last, I'm gonna try not to cry, sorry. I've had some life changes in the last couple months. I used to be in a partnership, self-employment with a family member that I'm no longer a part of anymore. So I have a different job with different responsibilities. I'm a manager for a different construction business, which has changed my flexibility with my time. I'm also on the Wellington Local Board of Ed. I still want to focus on that one. And as many of you may or may not know, I have a 2.5-year-old son at home. So I just want to really focus on being with him and potty training and doing all that stuff. It's a lot. It's a lot. Being a mom, you know, I was really excited to come to this board, and I've learned a lot in the last year, and trying to fill Herb's seat was a big responsibility, and I only lasted 1 year. I feel really bad about it, and
Circumstance, Samantha.
Yeah.
That's it.
yeah, I'm sure it was a lot of
We'll see you back in the
self-induced
future.
pressure, but I think I bit off a little bit more than I can chew, and I don't like doing things half-butt. You know what I mean? I don't,
Sure.
and I know that people are like, you can do Zoom and you can do, don't come. That's not me. Whoever is on this board, it should really be somebody who's able to commit to it. And I just feel like I can't give it everything that it deserves and I want to give right now at this time in my life. Sorry, but
There'll be a time.
I don't know why I'm so emotional, sorry.
There'll be a time.
But I really appreciate, because I care, and I had a really great time being here, and I appreciate everyone welcoming me and teaching me different things, and I appreciated what I could contribute, if not much, but
Sam, you've been a good member.
Yes.
I really
For a
enjoyed
short
being
time.
here,
I
so
mean, you fit in just fine with everybody else here, you
Yeah.
know?
it's just a lot, and it's hard, and you know,
I'm sorry to hear
As
that.
your
I'm
son-
having a
as
hard
your son
time
approaches high
balancing
school.
everything, so I feel bad, and I'm like, I just don't want to, I don't know, I'm just having a really hard time, so I
Well, you know,
appreciate.
2.5-year-olds grow up.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I'll be back in a couple years, but I just wanted to let all you guys know that that's where I'm at and.
Well, we always value
That you
your
would do-
input for sure.
Thank
in the
you.
Yeah.
community
Yeah,
meetings.
thank you.
Thank you
Yes.
for letting
And
us
if you
know.
wanna, I am very interested in the air quality thing. I'm still in HVAC. I just work for someone else now, so.
What do you work?
I'm interested to give my 2 cents if you want it when that comes, but
Yes, where'd you go to? It's welcome.
I work for Central Mechanical now in Cromwell. So it's also a bit of a hike.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah, it is.
I think your business background too is a wonderful, small business, a
Yeah.
wonderful addition. So that's, I appreciate the fact that
Thank you.
you were able to share. And I think for the building committee too, I mean,
Mhm.
coming onto that and having a certain expertise is always great.
I know, I was really
I mean,
enjoying
in terms
it.
of
Well,
HVAC.
Yeah.
We've had members before that resigned, or moved on for whatever reason, and have come back to assist with various committees.
Okay.
And so, especially with the air quality stuff, I
Yeah.
think that your input could be valuable, so.
Yeah.
so
I
we-
just feel bad when I feel like I can't commit to
Mhm.
coming to every meeting and
Yeah.
especially bullet boards during budget season and I'm like, and my kid's up till midnight and I'm like, no, and then my whole week gets messed up and like I said, I just feel like I don't have to, I already said, I'm gonna start
No
rambling,
need to
but
justify.
that's it.
Well, we're grateful
We
you were
respect,
here
we
when you
respect
were
your
here.
decision.
Thank you.
Yes, and we thank you. You were the person
Yeah,
where,
thank you, Sam.
when Samantha spoke, people listened,
Yep.
because you were so thoughtful about your comments and about your input and everything that you contributed, so.
Thank you, I appreciate
And
that.
we look forward to you coming back someday.
Yeah.
Arthur?
So mine's pretty simple and it revolves around Sam. So I was proud to kind of bring Sam into the world of politics because we did a Dunkin' Donuts one day. I was proud to support her for this position and I'm proud to support her in putting her life first and doing what she needs to do. So I'm very proud of you, Sam.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? And thank you for letting us know. I mean, I appreciate that rather than hearing it, to hear it directly from you is
Yeah.
a nice touch and a good way to go.
Thank you.
Then if there is nothing else, I would certainly entertain a motion to adjourn by Kim. Is there a second by Kim? Again, the Kim connection. All right, then all in favor?
All right.
All right.
Okay, we're done. Thank you, everybody.